The Case of the Missing Marbles. Detective Danny loved solving mysteries. His favorite pastime was figuring out puzzles and riddles. One sunny afternoon, as he was playing in his backyard, his neighbor, Mrs. Johnson, came rushing over. "Oh, Detective Danny," she cried, "I need your help. My precious collection of marbles has disappeared." Danny's eyes widened with excitement. A real mystery to solve. He grabbed his trusty magnifying glass and notepad. "Don't worry, Mrs. Johnson," he said confidently. "I'm on the case." Danny began his investigation by asking Mrs. Johnson some questions. "When did you last see your marbles?" he inquired, scribbling in his notepad. "Just yesterday evening," Mrs. Johnson replied. "I was polishing them before bed." Danny nodded thoughtfully. "And where do you usually keep them?" "In a special box on my shelf," Mrs. Johnson explained. "But this morning, the box was empty." Detective Danny's mind was racing. He decided to inspect Mrs. Johnson's house for clues. As he walked through her living room, something caught his eye. There were tiny, colorful smudges on the floor, leading towards the back door. "Hot," Annie exclaimed. "Our first clue." He followed the trail of smudges out into Mrs. Johnson's garden. The trail seemed to end at a large oak tree. Danny circled the tree, searching for more clues. Suddenly, he heard a faint chattering sound coming from above. Looking up, Danny spotted a bushy tail disappearing into a hole in the tree trunk. Could it be? He pulled out his small binoculars and peered into the hole. To his amazement, he saw a family of squirrels playing with Mrs. Johnson's colorful marbles. "Mrs. Johnson," Danny called out excitedly. "I think I've solved the mystery." He explained his discovery to Mrs. Johnson, who was both relieved and amused. Together, they came up with a plan to retrieve the marbles without disturbing the squirrel family. Danny carefully climbed the tree with a small basket. He gently coaxed the squirrels to trade the marbles for some tasty nuts Mrs. Johnson had provided. One by one, the marbles were returned to their rightful owner. As Danny handed the basket of recovered marbles to Mrs. Johnson, she beamed with gratitude. "Thank you, Detective Danny. You're a true hero." Danny felt a surge of pride. He had solved his first real mystery and helped his neighbor. Plus, he'd made some new squirrel friends in the process. From that day on, Detective Donnie's reputation grew. The neighborhood kids started coming to him with their own mysteries to solve. But Donnie never forgot his first case, the case of the missing marbles. As for Mrs. Johnson, she found a new, squirrel-proof place to keep her marble collection. And sometimes, on quiet afternoons, she would invite the neighborhood squirrels for a nutty treat, a small price to pay for such an exciting adventure.